He walked through those church doors wearing something nobody expected. Her smile froze. The whispers started. This wasn't supposed to happen. She invited him to embarrass him, to parade her new life in front of the man she left behind. But when he arrived, everything changed. What was meant to be her perfect day became the moment that exposed everything she'd been hiding. And what he did next? It shattered her in ways she never saw coming. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. This is a story about pride, betrayal, and the kind of revenge that doesn't need words. It's about a woman named Claire, a successful real estate agent from Charlotte, North Carolina, who thought she had it all figured out. And it's about Marcus, the man she married young, loved deeply, and then discarded like yesterday's trash when his bank account couldn't keep up with her ambitions. Their love story started like so many others, full of hope and late-night promises. But it ended in a way that left everyone who knew them speechless. What makes this story different isn't just what happened at that wedding. It's what happened in the years between their divorce and that fateful day. It's the quiet transformation of a man the world had written off, and the loud unraveling of a woman who thought she could control the narrative forever. Claire didn't just leave Marcus. She humiliated him. She told her friends he was holding her back. She posted cryptic messages on social media about outgrowing people who don't match your energy. She made sure everyone knew she was upgrading. And when she got engaged to Richard, a corporate lawyer with a corner office and a summer home in the Outer Banks, she made one decision that seemed cruel even by her standards. She invited Marcus to the wedding. Not as a guest of honor. Not out of respect for what they once had. But as a trophy. A reminder to herself and everyone else of how far she'd come. She wanted him to see her in that white dress, walking toward a man who could give her everything Marcus never could. She wanted him to feel small. But Marcus had other plans. And when he showed up, the entire room went silent. Let's go back to where it all started, because to understand what happened at that wedding, you need to understand who Marcus and Claire used to be. They met in college, at a community event in Durham. Marcus was 22, working 2 jobs while finishing his associate degree in automotive technology. Claire was 21, studying business administration and dreaming of a life far beyond the small apartment she grew up in. She was beautiful, ambitious, and hungry for more. He was kind, hardworking, and head over heels in love with her. They got married a year later in a small ceremony at her mother's church. No fancy reception. No honeymoon in Europe. Just 2 people who believed love was enough. For a while, it was. Marcus worked at a local auto repair shop, coming home every night with grease under his nails and a smile on his face. Claire got her real estate license and started selling homes, slowly building a client base. They lived in a cramped 1-bedroom apartment with second-hand furniture and big dreams. They'd cook dinner together, laugh about their day, talk about the house they'd buy someday, the kids they'd have. But somewhere along the way, Claire's dreams started to outpace their reality. She was good at her job, really good. Within 3 years, she was one of the top agents in her firm. She started attending high-end open houses, networking events, charity galas. She was surrounded by wealth, by people who drove luxury cars and vacationed in places Marcus had only seen in magazines. And slowly, she started to see him differently. Not as the man who loved her, but as the man who couldn't keep up. Her friends would ask about him at events, and she'd give vague answers. Oh, he's working. He's busy. He couldn't make it. The truth was, she stopped inviting him. She was embarrassed. Embarrassed by his old truck, his calloused hands, the way he didn't know which fork to use at fancy dinners. She started telling him he needed to do more, be more, want more. But Marcus was already doing everything he could. He picked up extra shifts. He studied business courses online, hoping to one day open his own shop. He loved her, and he thought that if he worked hard enough, it would be enough. It wasn't. One night, after another argument about money, about ambition, about why he couldn't just figure it out, Claire looked at him and said the words that broke everything. "I can't do this anymore. You're not the man I thought you'd become." She filed for divorce 2 weeks later. The process was quick, cold, transactional. She kept the car, the savings, most of the furniture. Marcus kept his tools and his dignity, or what was left of it. He moved into a small rental across town, and for a while, he disappeared. No social media. No public appearances. Just work, silence, and the weight of everything he'd lost. Claire, meanwhile, moved on fast. She upgraded her wardrobe, her car, her circle. Within 6 months, she was dating Richard. Within a year, they were engaged. And when she sent Marcus that wedding invitation, she wasn't extending an olive branch. She was twisting the knife. "Come see what you missed out on," the note inside read. "I've moved on. Maybe you should too." Marcus stared at that invitation for a long time. Then he folded it, put it in his drawer, and got back to work. Claire's engagement to Richard was everything she'd dreamed of. The ring was huge, princess cut, nearly 3 carats. The proposal happened at a rooftop restaurant with a view of the Charlotte skyline. She posted every detail online. The dress fittings. The venue tours. The bridal shower. She wanted the world to see her winning. And she wanted Marcus to see it too. Her friends knew about the invitation. Some of them thought it was petty. One even asked her, "Why would you do that to him?" Claire's response was chilling. "Because he needs to see what happens when you settle for mediocrity." I didn't. She wasn't just planning a wedding. She was planning a public execution of Marcus's pride. She told her bridesmaids to expect him. She joked about it. "Imagine him walking in, probably in some cheap suit from a department store clearance rack, watching me marry a man who actually made something of himself." They laughed. They all laughed. But Marcus wasn't laughing. In fact, Marcus had gone completely silent. No response to the invitation. No calls. No messages. For weeks, Claire assumed he wouldn't show. Maybe he finally realized how pathetic it would be. Good. Let him stay home and wallow. Then, 3 days before the wedding, her coordinator received an RSVP. Marcus Reynolds. +1. Attending. Claire's heart skipped. He was actually coming. Part of her was thrilled. This was the moment she'd been waiting for. The moment she could look him in the eye and show him exactly what he lost. But there was something else too. A flicker of unease. Why would he come? What could he possibly gain from this? She pushed the thought away. It didn't matter. He was coming to her wedding. That meant she'd already won. The day of the wedding arrived. The venue was stunning, a historic estate with manicured gardens and a chapel that looked like something out of a fairy tale. The guest list was a who's who of Charlotte's elite. Real estate moguls. Lawyers. Investors. Everyone who mattered was there. Claire felt like royalty. The ceremony was about to begin. Guests were taking their seats. The string quartet was playing. Everything was perfect. Then the whispers started. "Is that him? Oh my God. That's Marcus. Who's he with?" Claire was in the bridal suite, adjusting her veil, when her maid of honor burst in. "You need to see this." Claire's stomach dropped. "What?" "Just come look." She peeked through the window overlooking the entrance. And that's when she saw him. Marcus. But not the Marcus she remembered. Not the man in the stained work shirts and tired eyes. This Marcus was different. He stepped out of a black Audi R8, sleek and spotless. He was wearing a custom-tailored navy suit, crisp white shirt, no tie. His hair was cut sharp, his posture confident. And on his arm was a woman. Stunning. Elegant. Poised. They walked toward the entrance like they owned the place. Guests turned. Cameras came out. The whispers grew louder. Claire felt her hands start to shake. This wasn't supposed to happen. He was supposed to look broken. He was supposed to slink in quietly, sit in the back, and leave before anyone noticed. But Marcus wasn't hiding. He was making an entrance. And everyone was watching. Marcus walked into that chapel, and the room shifted. Conversations paused. Heads turned. Even the officiant glanced toward the door. He didn't rush. He didn't apologize for being late. He simply walked down the aisle, calm and composed, and took a seat in the 4th row. Not in the back. Not trying to hide. Right there, where everyone could see him. Claire's bridesmaids were whispering frantically. Her mother looked horrified. Richard, standing at the altar, had no idea who this man was, but he could feel the tension. The ceremony started, but the energy had changed. Claire walked down the aisle, but her eyes kept drifting to Marcus. He wasn't looking at her. He was looking straight ahead, unfazed, like he belonged there. Like he wasn't bothered at all. And that's what made it worse. She wanted him to look devastated. She wanted him to see her and feel the weight of what he'd lost. But Marcus looked like a man who'd already moved on. After the ceremony, during the cocktail hour, the questions started. Who is that guy? I heard he's her ex-husband. Wait, the mechanic? That's him. He doesn't look like a mechanic. Claire tried to ignore it. She smiled for photos, greeted guests, played the perfect bride. But every few minutes, someone would mention Marcus. Did you see his car? I looked it up. That's a $200,000 vehicle. And that woman with him? She's gorgeous. I think she's a doctor. Claire's chest tightened. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She excused herself, slipped into a hallway, and pulled out her phone. She searched Marcus's name. Nothing. No social media. No LinkedIn updates. No trace of what he'd been doing for the past 3 years. It was like he'd vanished and returned as someone completely different. Her hands were trembling. She wanted answers. She wanted to confront him. But before she could, her wedding planner found her. Claire, we need you for the reception entrance. She forced a smile and followed. The reception was elegant. Toasts were made. Dinner was served. But Claire couldn't focus. She kept glancing over at Marcus's table. He was laughing, talking, completely at ease. People were approaching him, shaking his hand, asking questions. He was the center of attention. At her wedding. Then came the moment she'd been dreading. Marcus stood up. He walked toward her table. Richard stiffened. Claire's heart pounded. Marcus stopped a few feet away, smiled politely, and said just loud enough for those nearby to hear, "Congratulations, Claire. You look beautiful. I hope you find everything you're looking for." Then he turned and walked away. No drama. No scene. Just a calm, composed exit. And somehow, that was more devastating than anything he could have said. By the next morning, Claire's wedding was all over social media. But it wasn't her dress or the venue people were talking about. It was Marcus. Someone had filmed his entrance. The video went viral. Ex-husband shows up to wedding and steals the show. Comments flooded in. He's the real winner here. She downgraded. Look at him now. She's going to regret this forever. Claire was furious. She called friends, demanded to know who posted the video. But it didn't matter. The damage was done. She needed to know the truth. How did Marcus go from struggling mechanic to whatever he was now? She started digging. She called mutual friends. Most of them hadn't heard from him in years. One friend, Kevin, finally gave her a lead. He started a business. Some kind of auto repair chain. I think it's doing well. Claire's blood ran cold. A chain? She searched online. Reynolds Auto Group. 5 locations across North Carolina. 4.8-star rating. Thousands of reviews. Annual revenue estimated in the millions. She scrolled through the website. There was Marcus, in the About Us section, standing in front of one of his shops, arms crossed, smiling. The same man she'd left because he wasn't ambitious enough. She kept digging. Articles. Interviews. A feature in a local business magazine. From rock bottom to the top, how one man built an empire from scratch. The article detailed everything. How Marcus, after the divorce, worked 3 jobs. How he saved every dollar. How he took night classes in business management. How he opened his first shop with a small business loan and grew it through sheer grit and reputation. The journalist asked him about the divorce. Marcus's response was measured. It was the hardest thing I ever went through. But it taught me something. You can't rely on anyone else to define your worth. You have to build it yourself. Claire felt sick. She'd spent years telling people Marcus wasn't enough. And now, the world was telling her she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. But there was more. The woman Marcus brought to the wedding? Her name was Dr. Simone Harper, a pediatric surgeon. They'd met at a charity event Marcus sponsored. They'd been dating for over a year. And according to everyone who knew them, they were happy. Genuinely, quietly happy. A week after the wedding, Claire couldn't take it anymore. She called Marcus. He didn't answer. She called again. And again. Finally, on the fourth try, he picked up. "What do you want, Claire?" His voice was calm. Not angry. Not hurt. Just neutral. "I need to talk to you." "There's nothing to talk about. You moved on." "I moved on." "Why did you come to my wedding?" He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You invited me. I thought you wanted me there. You wanted to embarrass me." Claire's voice cracked. "You wanted me to see you with him and feel like I wasn't good enough." Marcus sighed. "I came because I wanted to prove something to myself. Not to you. To myself. I wanted to walk into that room and feel nothing. And you know what? I did. You don't get to do this. You don't get to show up and make me look like the villain. I'm not trying to make you look like anything, Claire. You did that yourself. When you left me, you told me I wasn't enough. And for a long time, I believed you. I worked myself to the bone trying to prove you wrong. But somewhere along the way, I realized something. I wasn't trying to prove anything to you anymore. I was proving it to myself. And once I did that, you stopped mattering." Claire was crying now. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "Yes, you did. You meant every word. And that's okay. Because it made me who I am now. So thank you. Thank you. For showing me what I didn't want to become. Goodbye, Claire." He hung up. Claire sat there, phone in her hand, tears streaming down her face. She'd gotten everything she thought she wanted. The rich husband. The big wedding. The perfect life. But in that moment, she realized she'd lost the only person who ever truly loved her. And there was no going back. Months passed. Claire's marriage to Richard was fine. Comfortable. But there was something missing. Something she couldn't name. She'd scroll through social media and see updates about Marcus. New shop openings. Charity events. Photos with Simone. He looked happy. Truly happy. And it hurt more than she ever thought it would. One day, she ran into Kevin at a coffee shop. He mentioned Marcus was getting engaged. To Simone. Claire felt her chest tighten. "Good for him," she said quietly. Kevin looked at her for a long moment. "You know, he never talked bad about you. Even after everything. He just moved on." That's the difference between them, Claire thought. Marcus didn't need revenge. He didn't need to prove her wrong publicly. He just lived well. And that was louder than anything else. So let me ask you, if you were in Claire's position, would you have sent that invitation? And if you were Marcus, would you have gone? How would you have felt watching someone you once loved try to humiliate you, only to realize they'd underestimated you completely? Leave your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective. And if this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear that success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. And remember, the best revenge isn't what you say. It's who you become.